Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 34. Y'all, 34 of Sipping Tea with Stacy T. Man, we're on it. We're still going. We're still going. We're still on the journey. Come on in. Come on in the room. I'll wait a while to see you all come in. It's been a week, y'all. It has been a week. Good afternoon. How are you doing? Is life lifing for you too? How you doing? How you be? It definitely is lifing. I get it. I get it. But you know what? We're still here. We are still here. So we have work yet to do. Work yet to do. I hope everybody is doing well in spite of. I think that sometimes we overlook or underestimate the in spite of, because guess what? We're not going to get through this journey. You're not going to get through this life without something that we have to endure, something we have to process, something we have to manage, something we have to overcome, all the things, all of the things. And it can be exhausting. It can feel diminishing. It can feel defeating, but we know that that's not the case. We know that's not the case, even though justifiably sometimes we're like, okay, God, I get it, but I understand. And this is still exhausting. So if you're in a space where life is lifing, it is lifing for me too. And I want you to know you're not in the struggle alone. It does feel like it. It does feel like it. I feel like, lately, and again, life goes through cycles, but lately it has felt like, a lot. And and it's not just me, because when I talk to people, and again, you guys know I'm on other platforms. What I'm specifically speaking about right now is TikTok. As I've been on that platform more and more, I see how people are just trying to manage. And a lot of people are just feeling like they're not managing well. And I think that that's fair. But I also want people to understand that life can be challenging. The struggles that we go through are real and they are felt. And I think, unfortunately, we've been taught so often that, we shouldn't give any energy to that. And just think positive. And while you can be a positive thinker, it does not negate the fact that you're going to go through things. It doesn't erase that, right? It's still going to be a very real thing, a very real feeling. It'll still be challenging. It will still have times where you will bawl your eyes out, and there are going to be times where you sit numb. There are going to be times where you sit in silence, and there may be times you want to scream, and maybe all those happen at the same time as well. But you know what? Again, we're still here. We're still pushing through. We're still persevering, and that really has to be enough sometimes. I think that we have been taught that you have to, if you're being grateful for being alive and having your right mind and, some of the basic necessities, we're told that should be enough. And I get the understanding of that. And we are grateful for those things, but it doesn't mean when you're suffering in another area that it doesn't impact you. It doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exhaust you or any of those things. All of those things are true at the same time, but we're taught, not to think that way. So for me, a lot of my healing journey has been unlearning things that don't serve me and relearning ways to handle things healthy in a healthy manner. Um, because that's what we all want, y'all. At least that's what I feel we should want. We should all want to be walking through this life as healthy as possible. And I don't mean physically healthy, though that's important. I'm talking about mentally, emotionally, spiritually healthy. And that means we have to dedicate time to that. That means we also need to dedicate time to ourselves, and that can be challenging. It also means we need to tap in, not just to God, which I want you to tap into Him first, obviously, but it's also mean tapping into relationships that are helpful for you, tapping into practices that are helpful for you to help you navigate what the world is going on. Because y'all, it's a lot. It is a lot. But we're going to keep pushing, and we will support each other and be there for each other. And hold each other in regard and care for each other's hearts and how we're managing and how we're, pushing through. And our prayer is that other people do that. I called my group on TikTok, I called them Group of Hope, because if somebody were to look at my LinkedIn as an example, on my LinkedIn, on LinkedIn, you have all the jobs you've worked and the titles that companies have given you, but that's not your brand. That's a brand that a company gave you for the moment that you were doing that job. And when you're separated from that, it's important to still have an identity, right? And so for me, I call myself a hope ambassador, because my hope is that I'm helping other people every day. So hope for me stands for helping other people every day. And so I named my group on TikTok that Team Hope, because that's the expectation. Even in conversation, we're able to help people, and oftentimes we don't recognize that. And it has been a blessing for me to be able to see conversations like the one I'm about to have today be received well, and other conversations as well, but people just saying, thank you, Stacy, for um being vulnerable with what you're going through as you're going through it, because it's challenging. It is challenging, and I think that if I were to make the decision to do it on my own, I probably would not have done it. But that's why that certain things that you do, that's when you're aware that it's a God thing. Because if you were left up to your own choice and your own devices, you're like, I ain't doing that, I ain't telling these people, because all these people want to do is be in my business. They want to know what's going on. They want to be able to use what I tell them to maybe to beat me up with it later. That's the mentality or the logic that we have if we're just talking or thinking to ourselves. That's why it's important to not necessarily trust trust what crosses our mind, because sometimes even what crosses our mind can deceive us as to purpose. So thank you guys. A great acronym. Thank you. Yeah, I don't even know. It honestly came to me years ago, and I've been using it for a while, but it felt like I needed to really revive it and give it the energy and the attention that it needs, because people need hope, y'all. And even though we don't think our interactions with people, I mean, it could be going to a grocery store, it could be going to Walmart, which I know some people like to go to. It could be going to get some coffee, it could be going to the gas station. I mean, it could literally be it could be on your job, online, any place that you have the potential. It could be on the phone, right? I remember I was talking to somebody about a bill, and I was ended up talking to them about God. Like, you just don't know. You really, really, really don't know how you may be used and the impact that you might have, because you having a conversation with someone may be the one highlight of their day. And it might be the thing that causes them to think differently or see something differently or have hope. And so that's why I think that it's important. Thank the Lord she didn't hear you. Yeah. Uh-oh. I forgot. Yes, thank the Lord. I'm glad to hear that. I know you're probably like looked around like, oh no, oh no, oh no. I will not mention I will not mention that, please. All right. So today we're going to be, y'all, today's just a cozy day. I'm having a tea I've had before, but I actually really loved, which is why I'm doing a repeat. And it is, I don't know if you guys remember when I had the Revolution Spanish white peach and ginger tea. I loved this tea. So we're going to be running it back. Rewind selector. I see you, Cheryl. No, no, no. You're not telling that baby that, but I get it. I get it. Y'all, just if you have not tried this tea, for real, Revolution, called Adore Spanish White Peach and Ginger Tea, please try it. It is so, so good. Like, literally, even as soon as you take it out, the smell of the peach, oh, so good. So I'm putting it in right now to steep, because I'm planning on enjoying that tea. Today, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? We're talking about internal betrayal repair. That it's called Revolution, Adore, Spanish, white peach, and ginger tea. It is so good. Like it is like the smell is so like so aromatic. It's so powerful because sometimes you take a tea out and you like have it all up on your nose and you still don't smell much. I mean, I have it like this far away. As soon as you open it, like I can still smell it inside of this. It's good. You're welcome. And I don't know. I'm gonna peach kick y'all, which is funny because as I've told you before, I don't actually eat peaches like that. I hate the fuzzy outside. Maybe if I shaved it, I would eat it, but I don't really like peaches like that. And definitely not in the syrup. Like I know people love peach cobbler. Y'all don't take my card. I'm still black. I'm not a huge peach cobbler person. Yes, that is thank you for writing it down so that anybody who watches this later can grab the tea. So today we're going to be talking about internal betrayal repair. And this was a topic that I did share with people on TikTok because, I think that I know that we talk about being hurt often, we talk about pain, we talk about trauma often, but we don't really spend a ton of time talking about betrayal. And I know on my last episode, I spoke about scar tissue, which kind of really hints and leans into the conversation we're having today. Again, I don't have topics that I can't relate to, or I haven't to this point. To this point, to my 34, this is the 34th episode, I have not had a conversation that I can't personally relate to. So yes, your girl has been betrayed. And I would dare to say that people that are watching this or will watch it will feel the same thing. I think everybody has experienced betrayal at least once in their life, sadly, multiple times, and in a variety of different ways. When I talk about relationships, you all know at this point that I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, all those matter, but they could be relationships with friends, family members, people you work with, right? I have been betrayed in all of those, areas. And I think that that's normal, right? Does it feel good? No. Is it sad? Yes. But, it happens. It happens. And at the end of the day, regardless of it happening or not, regardless of an apology or not, because I don't want y'all to hold your breath for apologies, y'all. If you're looking for closure, you need to find it within yourself or within God, because unfortunately, I was a closure person and I still like it. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't like closure. I really, um, there's something about it that for me allows me to be able to look at something in its full capacity and its full totality. But sometimes you're just not going to get it. You're not going to get it. And if you sit there waiting for it, that honestly is going to tick you off more than anything else, because you're wanting it. And then I will tell you, the couple times that I have, had conversation when, a friendship ended or what have you, if I'm going to be entirely honest, one of the times I was like, this person's not even hearing me at all. Like, I'm talking and talking, and then they're just not hearing me. They want to hear what they want to hear. They want to believe their truth instead of the truth. And then in the other situation, I was super frustrated, like super frustrated. And because I was also, one of the things that I'm very well aware of is kind of how trauma impacts me. And a lot of times, especially when you're going through a betrayal situation, when the relationship ends or if it ends, because some people are able to work through betrayal and still stay in relationship of some sort with the person. But in the instances that it does end, it is like grief. It is like mourning the loss of something, because you're mourning the loss of what could have been and what you thought your relationship would be. And so for me, when I had that conversation with a person, and we were able to kind of talk through the end of the relationship, I found myself going through the stage of grief, which was anger, y'all. I was heated because I'm like, why are you wasting my time? Like, that's what I'm trying to ask. Can we get to that point? Because you talking in circles is irritating the mess out of me, and you trying to act like nothing happened is equally irritating the mess out of me. What I want you to do is take accountability. What I want you to do is tell me why you wasted my time. That's what I want. Can you give me that? If not, deuces. That's where I'm at. So yeah, it frustrated me. Yeah, closure is good, but some people live in a cowardly state or just don't acknowledge others. And that's real. You also have to realize, y'all, we are living in a world with actual narcissistic folks. Like the world revolves around them. The world, in the beginning was their world. They're rewriting the Bible, y'all. They're rewriting the Bible. And and with those type of people, you're not going to get closure. You're not going to have a conversation. Because quite frankly, they don't respect you. And that's what it boils down to. They don't respect themselves, but if you ask them, they think, I'm fine. I don't need closure. It's not for me. It's for you. I'm trying to do this for you. Don't give me no pity conversation. Keep that. Keep that. You should want to have closure because as an adult that had a relationship of any kind, it is only imperative for you to grow from it, right? So even though a relationship does not work out, that does not have to be the end of humanity, the end of civility, or being a normal daggone adult. Right? An adult has adult conversations, even when they are complicated, even when they might be challenging. If you're the type that always ducks and covers when a conversation happens, especially one that you just don't want to have because you know it's going to make you feel some type of way or it's going to make you take accountability, check your adulting card. Because what are we doing? Like, what is it that we're doing at that point? But let's get into this. Let's get into, but I'm going to kind of define betrayal first, and then we're going to get into some of the ways that it shows up for us, how it affects us in our body, and so on and so forth. So, what is betrayal? Betrayal, by definition, and y'all know I'm looking at this. So if you're wondering what in the world is Stacey looking down at, my notes, y'all. I want to stay on target because it's easy for me to get off off target. So betrayal is being disloyal, exposing to danger, often by giving up into the enemy. So that's kind of more the spiritual side of it. But let's talk about like the logistical, the word itself. The word comes from Latin. So the word be means thoroughly, or the part of the word be though means thoroughly, and tradere means hand over. So when you are being disloyal or when you're betraying someone, you are thoroughly handing them over. Okay? So let's just sit in there for a second. You were my friend. We were cool, but you just thoroughly handed me over to the enemy, to the people you were also talking mess about, to the people that you also said, were not this type of person or blah, 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 right? But now you want to be mean girl. Now you want to be cool girl. And now it's something different, right? And by the way, you shouldn't be talking mess either. But I'm just saying, the reality is, you're now this person. Now you're cool with this person, or you're wanting to be cool with this person. So instead of like having my back when they're talking about me, and this is a very real thing, y'all. There are times that I've had friendships where, I thought the person would have my back, but when people were talking about me, they didn't say anything. All of a sudden they're mute. They don't have any type of voice. They have laryngitis. They can't talk. And on top of that, didn't even tell me. It comes back to me in a different way. You're still part of the problem. Correct. So I'm like, well, now that I know that you're not trustworthy, and now that I know you were talking about me with people, what is it that we're going to be doing in this friendship? Because clearly we're not friends, right? You're disloyal, which is part of the definition. But instead of just being disloyal, you also handed me over because you participated in a conversation about me and did not defend me, did not speak well on my behalf. You said nothing other than kikiing and laughing when they were talking mess. Yeah, you need to speak up for me in the moment. And can I just tell you how much, because that is so on point. I really cannot stand when people will come back to you and be like, yeah, so I'm just let you know because it may get back to you. Yeah, because you want to try to cover your tail. It may get back to you that so and so was talking about you. I didn't say nothing. I want you to know I didn't say nothing. Yeah, I know you didn't say anything. You didn't defend me. You didn't say don't talk mess about Stacey. You didn't say that's not who she is as a person. You didn't say, hey, if you have issue with Stacey, go talk to her privately. You didn't say any of those things. You said nothing, which means you too are part of the problem. Be blessed. So yeah, a lot of people do that. Like, yo, I felt so uncomfortable. They were talking about you, and oh my gosh, and it happens a lot in business, y'all. A lot in business. oh my gosh, I went to this meeting and such and such. And let me tell you, when you've been in a position where you've been in public office or whatever, so many people talk about you. So it's really telling when people come back to you and say, hey, I just want you to let you know that so and so is talking about you. Why is that helpful? Why would you want somebody that you supposedly care about to walk into what is like an emotional ambush? Right? I'm walking in and I have no idea. All these parties have been in the background. So now here I am, like shaking somebody's hand or doing something for someone that literally just spit on me in private. Those are the times where you're supposed to really show friendship and solidarity and all the things. And you've shown me who your solidarity is too, but it's not your girl. It's not this chick right here. Yeah, the be blessed. Let's go to the source. Exactly. Exactly. But also, the funny thing is that people don't recognize things have a way of working their way back. They have a way. It may not happen right away. You may have bought yourself a few months, but it's going to come back because God don't play about his kids. And he is not going to have us out there. He's doing some work in the background to expose what needs to be exposed. Yes, I see that true color shining through. Absolutely. And I don't like it. I don't want that color. I don't want to paint. Get away with me with your crayons, your paint by number. I don't want any of it. Bye. So that we know what betrayal means, right? The new standard seems kind of the newsstand kind, yeah, exactly. The newsstand does seem kind of heavy. Got all the dirt. So what is the difference between a lie and betrayal? Because sometimes people will say, oh, that's the same thing. If somebody lies and somebody betrays me, it's the same thing. No, 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 it's not. They have similarities, but let's break that down. A lie is a false statement, right? A false statement. That's blanket thing, definition, false statement. Betrayal, however, is when you are violated. I'm sorry, it's a violation of trust by omission or by action by a trusted person. So the biggest difference is because a lie can be an omission as well, but a lie, anybody can tell a lie. Anybody can tell a lie about anything. What makes something a betrayal is because it is a lie or it's an action or an omission, which is also an action, by a trusted person. So somebody that you felt like you could rely on, somebody felt like you could trust with all your stuff. And I think that's a really hard part of when relationships end, whether it's a work relationship or a dating or even marriages, right? Those people, or friendship, those people know about you, right? You've given them details about your life. You've shared with them intimate moments, or you have shared with them things you're afraid of. Like, so for me, I think the thing that makes betrayal so charged and so scary, and why people get so angry, is because people have all this material to do with what they want, right? And it feels super vulnerable because I've given you this, and it feels like I've given you a weapon to beat me up with. And that's what especially family. Yeah, they know you. They know all the stuff, right? But imagine if you've been married and this person knows all the things about you. Well, if you've been honest, they know a lot about you in the very least. You've been in a relationship. The person knows a lot about you in the very least. And now you're out there with this person betraying you, breaking your trust, and now you're in this position like, well, do I confront this person? Do we have a conversation? Do I want to take them back in? Do I not? Is it worth it? You have to go through all of this, right, in the same moment where you're trying to manage the feeling of your trust being broken. And trust being broken is so hard, y'all. It is so, so, so challenging. And we'll talk about why, because it's not just about the trust in itself. It is deeper than that. So, why is betrayal such a deep and challenging thing? There's a couple of reasons. One is that it's a trusted person, right? If it was a random person lying to you, you're like, whatever. Okay, you want to say that, that you saw me using, right? Clearly that's a lie. Anybody who knows me knows that's a lie. You just talking some foolishness because I made you mad or I made you look dumb and now you want to say something petty. Okay, get your lie on. Congratulations. Does it make you feel better? However, when it's a trusted person, and like I said, somebody you have broken down walls with, like your emotional walls, you've been vulnerable with this person, they know some of the things that you're not proud of, maybe things you're ashamed of, things you've done, things you haven't done, ways you've acted in certain situations. You've shared that with them because you wanted sometimes the accountability, sometimes because you really wanted to have somebody that could give you some insight. Maybe it's because you had to get something off your chest and you felt like you were going to burst if you didn't. And you shared it with this person because you have validated this person as a trusted person. And then, whammo, right? And now the relationship is fractured. And now what the heck do you do with that? That is I think, really, really hard. And, if it's a partner, a significant other, somebody that have had a friendship with for years, somebody that you've, worked with, and that happens a lot of times, I will say, in the work world because people are very ambitious. And so, I've had people steal my ideas. I've had people present things and say that I said things that I never said. Why? Because people are ambitious and people can be nasty. If I'm gonna be honest. And when people want to move up and they realize you're in the way, they will step on your neck. They will step fully with their full body weight on your neck to move forward and not even think twice about it, but then come and try to smile in your face later. So it can be really, really challenging. So that's what makes a betrayal, I think, so challenging. But the other piece of it, and I hinted towards this, is that when somebody betrays you, it doesn't just damage how you see other people, because that's the typical impact, right? How do you see other people? Are you willing to trust other people? Are you willing to let people in? Or do you put like the whole, like I've talked about, the bomb shelter around your heart with the chain link fence and the razor wire and the tasers attached to it to make it electrified, whatever, right? Do you have that type of a barrier now because this person that you had as a trusted person violated trust, and it makes you look at every relationship with the side eye? Or is it a deeper thing, which I will tell you, the thing for me about, and it does that. It does absolutely, and it has done that first thing, which has made me look at people with a side eye. Everybody gets a side eye. Why you say that? Why are you talking to me? Who sent you? That type of side eye. But the other thing that it does is it really makes you doubt yourself, right? It makes you doubt yourself in a couple of different ways. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Yes, they will. A whole book. Yeah, exactly. Let me write down everything that Cheryl has ever done. Let me write down everything I know about Tiffany. Let me get some, additional sources. And it is really, it's tough because you want to trust people because you want community. Like everybody wants to live in community of some sort, the one that you feel safe with and comfortable developing. But then now somebody that was in your community, we have a rat inside the ranks, right? So now what do you do? And for a lot of people, it's the immediate pushback for everybody. Everybody gets pushed back in a corner. But excuse me, again, the other thing is that it does make you doubt yourself. And let's talk about the ways that it does that. So it makes you doubt your choices. I can't tell you how many times, especially in dating, I'm like, is my picker off? Because I feel like I'm dating the same loser with a different face. So something about my picking device, is this on? Because something ain't working. Girl, that book is still hell to me today. From age 4 makes no sense. Yeah, I still second guess my choices. Yeah, I think everybody does. If you've been betrayed. If you've been betrayed. And I will say, to a degree, it's not bad to not second guess your choices, but to be careful about your choices, to be conscientious. Those things are good, right? To think that way. Because you don't necessarily need to rush into making decisions. Now, there are some people that take forever. Like literally, okay, so you want spaghetti. Okay, good. But like, do I want spaghetti? I want pasta. I know that. But do I want spaghetti, rigatoni, fettuccine? Do I want angel hair? Do I want, and I'm like, my God, pick a pasta. I get it. Everybody has a different mood for what they want. And some things hold sauce differently. Okay, I get it. Yeah. But pick a daggone pasta. So there's some people that literally for every decision, they can't move forward. So it's almost like what is called analysis paralysis. You're overthinking every single part of even small things because that person has the people that have broken your trust, betrayed you. They have made you not believe that you can make good choices for yourself. And that is really challenging because as adults, what do we do every day? We have to make choices. So if you're stuck in analysis paralysis, that overthinking, it makes even the simplest of decisions. Okay, we're gonna have pizza. What kind? And then you're like, do I want this type of cheese or that type of cheese? Do I want it to be half cheese, extra cheese, or do I want to have the whole thing extra cheese and only half pepperoni? It's like, my gosh. And that, y'all, I'm telling you, even that mental work, that heavy lift is just a lot. It is a lot. Tedious, yes. But it can be a lot if every single thing about every single choice takes forever. That's a lot of mental like work that just really doesn't need to be done. Because y'all, everything can't be that serious. Everything can't be that serious. Like there's other bigger ticket items that need your energy, your time, and your mental thought. Like not everything can be at that. You can't put everything up here. Okay. The second reason why it makes us rethink ourselves and not trust ourselves or look at ourselves differently is because it really makes you look at your spirit of discernment, right? Some people will call it intuition. I call it spirit of discernment. I think all of us have made choices and maybe chosen to be in relationship, and again, relationship of any kind with someone, and then had so many bad things happen in the nature of the relationship, maybe the way it ended, maybe the way that it functioned during. Because there are sometimes, if we are looking back, to be honest, we recognize that people didn't always treat us the best in these relationships because we give people grace and maybe too much grace, because we give people second chances and maybe too many chances. Y'all, all of them are not second chances. Sometimes you're somebody's on a fifth chance, and I'm just asking you to really think that through. A waste of your energy. Very true. Right. So I will say, for me, I had to have a conversation with God, and I'm talking even recently, had to have a conversation with God about, my spirit of discernment, because let me tell y'all, I really feel like in general, my family has high level of discernment, like top notch, top notch. Right. And so when things happen and, I've, for example, I had, something that I've been managing, when you feel like you got had, because let me just tell y'all, that's what I'm going through. That's what I'm working through, is feeling had. Like, how did I not see this? What in the world? I'm like, okay, God, hey God, hey God, hey, how you doing? What's up? Okay, everything in heaven good? Okay. Earth is, trash, but you already know that. But I have a question for you. So God, I thought me and you was cool. Like, do we have beef or something? Because what I've been managing is a lot. And I didn't expect to have, this situation come to light. And I thought I was, in your word and, devotion time, and talking to people about how great you are, making sure people understand the sales package of heaven and salvation and all that, right? So I feel like I've been doing my thing. But still we're here. So what is it that I did not see? Um but and it's funny because sometimes, and I will tell you, betrayal does make you feel like that, right? It makes you feel like, my intuition, aka my discernment, is off, my gut is off, and let me tell you, like I said, I feel like my gut is top notch. So when things happen that you would never expect, it is really off-putting. When somebody betrays you in a way that you don't expect, it is so challenging, because it really makes you think, one, for me, not is my just my spirit of discernment off. God, am I not aligned with you? So for me, I took it deeper, y'all. I'm like, am I not in the will? Am I out of the will? Have I been doing something that has positioned me that I'm out of alignment? Because other than that, God, I got some questions. I got some questions like what's good? And that I have to tell you for me is really hard because I do not want to ever be in a position where I'm not hearing from God clearly. But and it's funny what somebody told me, which I was so grateful because again, you get in your head when you've been betrayed. And I always live in my head anyways. I'm very introspective, so I'm constantly my brain's constantly spinning and thinking and moving. And what somebody said is, you can be in the will and you can be doing what God has you do, but God gives both people in any friendship, relationship, marriage, whatever, work relationship, they give that person, the other person also has free will. And if they are, if they're out of alignment, but you're still in alignment, unfortunately, sometimes God will remove that person, even when you're doing right. Because God is like, I'm not going to have my person, my child that is doing the right thing. I'm not going to have them attached to foolishness any longer than it has already gone on. And God also, remember, gives people chances and opportunities to get things right and move forward and do all the things. But if they're not doing those things, and if he now sees you catapulting, or as I said on my TikTok yesterday, if he sees you spiraling in a downward spiral and he cares about you as a person, he's like, okay, I tried to give that other person time. My daughter, my son has been doing the right thing on this side over here, but this one is acting a plumb fool. So the plumb fool gotta go. You gotta go, right? And so they remove, in that point, God will remove that person because they're not doing right. So instead of it always being something that we adopt, that we've done something wrong, which is where I went with it, y'all. I have to say that I definitely went there. Like, what did I do? What did I not see? God, was I in a space where I allow for something to happen and you were like trying to wave the red flag the whole time and I just didn't see it? Yeah, that good old free will. Sometimes, let me tell you, for real, I was like, God, you didn't really need to give us that piece. We wouldn't have known anything different. You could have had a whole bunch of people down here that were serving you, but he tried that in heaven. And that Lucifer person, well, he doesn't have that name anymore, but you got to know who I'm talking about, right? God allowed that. God did, he's like, okay, I'm gonna let my angels do their thing. And you had one moron that had to, I'm going to be bigger than God. I'm going to be the best thing. No, dude, you're not going to be bigger than him. So, but he thought he was. And because of that, he got kicked out. I mean, y'all know the story. Y'all know the story. But yeah, he got kicked out. And because of that, whatever, we all had to, there's always one bad apple. Man, there's sometimes bunches. Sometimes there's bunches of apples that are bad. It wasn't, and I'm like, I think they all spoiled at the same time. And they all started trying to blame each other. Y'all, it's so good. This tea is so good, for real, for real. By the way, who ate that? Who ate that fruit? Oh, Lord, have mercy. I think that too. Sometimes we shouldn't have free will just to see. Yeah. I'm like, who asked for that? Who told you? Look, who told you we want to be in on that plan? Just because of him? Well, him and then the third of the angels that all fell and became demons. But you get my point, right? Yeah, whatever. He was like, it didn't work the first time. Let me try something different. So here we are. All right. So that was the second thing. Like I said, the first thing was, is my picker, my ability to choose, is that off? The second thing is my intuition, again, my spirit man, my discernment, is that off? And then the third one is your ability to have wisdom. That's the other thing that it impacts. So your sense of judgment. Can I judge a situation? Do I have judgment? Do I walk in wisdom? Those are huge challenges, y'all, to be able to sit and think, because there are always people that make you feel like, your decision making is off, right? Your judgment is off. The choices you made are bad. But now this person is making you feel that way about yourself. And it's all bad. It is all bad. All right. So I'm going to tell you, and I've talked to you briefly. I mean, I'm not going to go into depth because you guys have already heard the first story, which is my first betrayal. So my first betrayal that I know, anyways, was my best friend at the time. And what I recognized about that, because for me, again, it's not just, recognizing the betrayal, but I really want to look at, and I have been able to go back in my mind and look back to how that impacted the person that I am and the choices that I make and so on and so forth. So, one of the things that I recognized about that betrayal in particular was that it really changed my ability to welcome closeness of any kind. So, I have had many relationships, I've had many situations happen, even people that, like, how you go to work and people, or in college, and people want to get really close to you. There were some people that I kind of let get closer, but I recognize, looking back, that initial heartbreak, which was my first heartbreak, um, that betrayal really impacted me in a deeper way than I gave credit for it, because I was just like, well, it is what it is. What am I going to do about it now? She chose this new person over me, and our friendship literally just ended. And there was no closure. I know we had a conversation and we tried to, like, hang out, but it was super awkward because at that point, I don't trust you. And now I'm looking back on that and what Stacy became after that and how it impacted me after that moment, and fully recognize, excuse me, recognize that it did change my ability to be close to people and to welcome it, because people wanted to be close to me, and I would let people get fairly close to me. And I think there's some people that snuck in, right? Some people snuck in through the cracks, but I remember not really desiring that, like desiring that level, because we were frickin' frack. We were always together. We were, doing dances in each other's houses, and I was in her basement eating over her house with her grandma and her Italian grandma, and she was over our house eating at our house and playing and swimming, and I mean, constantly together, right? Um, to the point where I still remember her phone number, right? From childhood. So we were constantly together. So that level of closeness, where I felt like she was a sister, that level, I was like, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. But I was not aware that that's what I was doing. But I can look back and say that that was probably the case. The second betrayal, and y'all, I've had many. The second betrayal I'm going to talk about is a betrayal when a guy that I liked, um, asked me to be with him. Right. So he asked me to, be in a relationship with him, all the things. And then I didn't really answer because I didn't really know how to answer. Um, but what happened is that he denied that it happened later. And when you're in a situation like that, it makes you feel demoralized, right? I felt, and I had already been struggling with not feeling pretty, not feeling attractive, not feeling chosen, because there were other things in my life that I didn't feel chosen for. So what this did was it heightened my feeling of not being enough, not feeling chosen, not being a preferred person, um, all those things, right? So it did all of those things to me. And um, what I would say is, when you have feelings of unworthiness, or and even, again, it was before him that I felt those things. But what happens is, when you have betrayals, because they are traumas, you are reigniting, or what I call making echoes, right? You're hearing an echo of a past trauma, a past betrayal. And so it heightens it. So what does that do? That means my walls are going to be reinforced. It means I'm definitely not going to let anybody close to me, because me allowing just even my feelings to go there allows me to be in a vulnerable space. And I don't want that. I'm all set. I don't want the vulnerability package. No, thank you. You can keep that. You can have two. um, and it really also spelled this incident in particular. What I can see is that it made me very, how to say this, it really kind of cemented a lack of trust in men. Now, prior to that, I had had men disappoint me, whatever, not show up for me, be weird, not celebrate things with me. So I've had that before, but this particular incident really solidified that men weren't mess to me. Men weren't crud. That's that's the way that I felt about men after that, because it wasn't just even him denying that he said he wanted to be with me and asked, for me to be with him. It was also the what happened after that, like the way that he conducted himself after that, that really made me think, okay, men really are trash. And men, I don't think all men are trash, but I'm saying that that was the mindset that I walked into, or walked out of that with. And then it also challenged my belief in relationships of any kind. So not just men, women, of any kind, friendships, all the things. Because I'm like, there's really no reason for me to be making this up, right? There's no reason for me to be saying that you wanted to be with me and you didn't want to, other than you are now just trying to, I don't know. I don't even know what you're trying to do, sir. But leave me alone. That's all I need to know. But again, so this is the reason why I want to spell this out. This betrayal in particular, it hit so many echoes of my past, but it also established new ones, right? It established new ones because before that, again, I'd had men not show up for me or men disappoint me, but I had never put into place that I thought men were trash. And at that point, that's what that established for me. So I will say that after that, I remember men trying to express interest, and I was like, for what? Why? Like, basically, who sent you? Who sent you? Tell me. But that's where I was at. Most recently, I will say that I've had additional betrayals, and it is challenging because when you have betrayals and they're not like back to back to back, but you've had them, and like I said to you, past trauma does linger in the brain. It lingers in it sometimes in your spirit. Unless you give it to God and tell him that he needs to really help you kind of navigate your emotions behind it. It's not, I think oftentimes we feel like when we say, I'm going to ask God to help me with a situation, he doesn't erase your mind. Like, this is not Men in Black. There's not like that taser that erases your mind and your memory. But what you're really asking for, in my opinion, you'd have to ask God when you get there, right? But in my opinion, what it really does is it eliminates that feeling of triggered pain, right? Because there are some people that have hurt us, and just seeing them makes us uncomfortable. Hearing their name may make us feel uncomfortable, right? So it's, for me, when we ask God to help us with something, somebody that's traumatized us, somebody that's hurt us, somebody that's betrayed us, it's really saying, God, I don't want to have that person have control of my emotions. I know what they did to me is real. I'm not imagining it. I'm not asking you to erase my mind, but I'm asking for you to make it so that the memory attached to that person doesn't control my emotions, does not make me want to crash out, as young people say now. So that's for me what it does. All right, just trying to make sure that I'm not skipping anything. So what are a few of the consistent areas that are ignited when you're betrayed? And this I thought was really interesting. So yes, I did my research, y'all, because when God will give me the idea, sometimes I'm like, okay, I have some things in my head, but I really want to look at some of the material behind this. One of the things that is really important is recognizing that somebody betraying you is not your fault. They talk to women, especially that have been through traumatic, violent, physical violent situations, maybe domestic violence or sexual assault, things like that. And, that one of the things they say, it's not your fault, right? Because it's not. However, when you've gone through betrayal, it is a very base instinct to blame yourself. Why did I allow it? Why did I stay? Why did I wear this outfit? Why did I go in this place? Blah, 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 right? Could we have maybe in certain circumstances taken us out of danger? Yes, right? By not being somewhere potentially. But the self-blame trap is not, like, we can't do that, y'all. We cannot do that. If, and I will say this, like I just said to you now, If there's some accountability to be had, take it. Take that. Absolutely. Right? Were you with somebody that you knew beat the mess out of the last girlfriend and you're like, I can change that man. I know I can love him past his pain. Then girl, well, you picked the project and you got an F. Right? Because sometimes we have to own that. Like, we have to eat that. If you walked into a situation willingly knowing that this person was a damaged person, has not done their healing, or thinking that you could love them past their red flags, y'all. I mean, it's like, you see some of these women, for example, some of these women that are dating some of these celebrities and they like have 16 children. And they're like, I'm going to be the one that's going to make him settle down and marry me and take care of my kids. Girl, bye. He's already shown a pattern of behavior. He's already shown you who he is. Now you can decide to be in relationship with him. That's entirely up to you. But don't expect for somebody to change their spots that has been spotted and continues to collect spots because you feel like you can love them past. Did the Lord himself come to you and say, this is your husband and you need to get ready to do some work? Did he do that? Or is this a pet project because you're bored and because he's fine, right? We have to recognize that when we put ourselves in situations that are just not good for us, that we need to take accountability for, right? However, just saying things like, when somebody treats you like hot mess, saying, I should have known better. What does that serve? So again, what you're doing is taking the accountability off the person that deserves it, and you doing that and taking it on yourself. I'm gonna need you to stop doing that. I'm gonna need you to stop doing that. People need to own their stuff. And will people own their stuff? I'm gonna tell you this right now. People do not like to own their stuff. Period. Do they like to push it off on somebody else or give you reasons why? It was because you did this that I'm going to do this and da da da. And have I done that? Yes, I have. And that's part of the healing process, is recognizing areas you've done it in. What I will also say is the other people that are involved may never apologize to you. Why? Because they never feel at fault. And you have to eat that. It is exhausting. I'm going to tell you that right now. It is exhausting. It is irritating as all get out, but it is what it is. Right? All right. I don't know why I'm getting stuffy all of a sudden, but in any event, I'm going to continue on. And that was before I drank the tea, so I'm not allergic before you try to come for my good tea. It's not the tea. All right. So, okay. So I wrote on here, this is just something funny that not funny, but something I want to keep in mind because imagery is powerful. Look, if you need to bear accountability, do that, but don't Mike Tyson yourself. Like, really beating yourself up for what? Because I will tell you that benefits them, because they're like, good. She feels like it's her problem. I don't have to take any accountability. I'm not going to make any changes. I'm going to continue being the jerk that I am. All right. Now there's also a thing called red flags. And there's another thing called blind spots. So red flags and blind spots, they are not the same thing. A red flag is something that you see. It is in your face. God showed you that person was a toxic friend. You've seen them. All they do is mess about other people. All they do is gossip. Did you see that so-and-so did such and such with this one? And then, girl, don't tell nobody. It's just between you and me. And then they be looking around. Why? Because it's somebody else told them it was between them and them and that person, right? So yeah, somebody with red flags is somebody that in your face you can see what it is. But you may or may not decide to still forge ahead. A blind spot is an area of weakness, right? So driving a car, right? You might have, areas where you can't see. If you have a vision impairment, as an example, there may be issues where like serious areas where you can't see, right? That's a blind spot. So it doesn't mean you've seen it and then still decide to charge forward. You're not, driving through a stop sign. In this instance, you don't even see the stop sign exist, right? So those are different things. So red flags, take accountability. Blind spots, recognize them now, and then categorize them as red flags moving forward. All right. So you have to give yourself a little grace with that. And then, I mean, I think the easiest thing, especially when you have a blind spot and you're recognizing it in a friendship, relationship of any kind, have a communication, have a conversation about it. We don't do that enough. So do that. All right. The other thing that, and this is a couple of things that I want you to kind of take in to account, because people are like, well, Stacey, you've been talking about these areas, you've been talking about, betrayal. How in the world do I work myself back to me when I've been betrayed? It is not easy. One, stay in God's face. But another thing that I want to kind of share, that is something that I've been just recently starting to do, is make small promises to yourself. Why do I bring that up? Because if we're going to be entirely honest, which we all should be, we betray ourselves all the time. Because we're the most trusted person to ourselves, right? We are our biggest trusted person, the person that we can count on, the person that we can talk to, the person that we rely on. But we do not. We make promises to ourselves that we don't do. I'm going to read the word every day. Don't do it. I'm going to go on a walk every day. Don't do it. Right? And it seems like not a big deal, but it's the constant lying to ourselves. And again, from a trusted person. So we need to start making small promises to ourselves that we will actually follow through on. Promises that we're going to keep. Right. I was listening to Promise Keeper by Fred Hammond the other day, because y'all know I love me some Fred Hammond. And just listening to, God as a promise keeper. And then I was like, man, I make promises to myself all the time that I ain't keeping. So it's important to do that. They don't have to be big. Maybe you wake up every day and before you move, you stretch your body. That could be a promise that you keep to yourself. Why? Because self-care is important. And as we get older, we need to stretch more. You need to take time stretching, not in movement. I mean, literally sitting, standing, and just stretching. Not been like, oh, I have to go. I got to run. Yes, you do. But your body's like, well, can I get any like ability to like wake up? No. Okay. Guess we're going. And then you're talking about my knee hurts. So you can make those daily commitments and keep them. How do you practice rebuilding your discernment if you feel like that's been challenged, or your gut, whatever, right? By building up things that you've said. And this is the thing. A lot of us feel like God's talking to us and we don't write anything down, right? Oh, God gave me a dream, didn't write it down. God gave me a vision, didn't write it down. God gave me a word, didn't write it down. And then you try to have recall of it, and then you're missing pieces. For me, I tell people when they dream, write down your dreams, even the colors of things. Like if you can remember the color of the car that drove past, or any of those things, those details, it is really helpful, because if you feel like God is trying to talk to you, he talks to you through all of the detail, all of the imagery, right? So it's important for you to think about it in its totality, in its fullness. So you can do things like journaling your feelings and your thoughts, which for me, obviously, you guys know, is writing. It's really about trying to connect to God in all the ways. And again, because he's trying to talk to us in so many different ways, pay attention to that. Does he have you keep going back to a same song all the time, all the time, all the time? There's messaging in that song that he wants you to pay attention to, right? Promise Keeper, I play a lot. Draw nigh, lo, I am with you. Because for me, a lot of the times, issues that I've dealt with are surrounding feeling unchosen or feeling lonely, right? So what will happen is God will give you messaging to be like, lo, I'm with you. I'm a promise keeper. Like, I haven't forgotten you. I get it that things keep happening around you and things are happening to you, and they don't feel like they're happening for you, but I haven't forgotten you. And I think so sometimes God is messaging even in that. We need to write it down so we build an awareness. An awareness of how God is talking to us is how we strengthen that discernment. And then celebrating our progress, y'all. We don't celebrate. I'm telling you, we point out a red flag and we will talk about it all day long. But we do not celebrate those moments where, we feel like, okay, God, you had me dodge a bullet there, God. Okay, we cool. We are cool, Lord. I appreciate you. You did a big one. Because that person was a fraud. And I don't want to be attached to that. I don't want to be, people seeing frauds, me and frauds on the internet and stuff, right? So you protected me in ways that I didn't understand, maybe didn't appreciate at the time, but I get it. I get it. I trust in God song. Well, I trust in God, my Savior. That one. He will never fail. I sought the Lord. I sought the Lord. I sought the Lord. Yeah. How's that book coming? I didn't ask for any accountability partners today. Thank you. That's not the part of the conversation that we're on. So God bless you. But the book is still being written. And then the two things I want to leave you with is this: healing, self-trust takes time and it takes patience. So, people want things to happen quickly. I'm sorry. This is a time and a patience thing. I didn't ask you to pray for patience now. I just said it takes time and patience, but it also takes grace. And grace is something we give in abundance to other people, but not typically for ourselves. One thing I prompt for you to interpreting the song in sign language to my daughter. Oh, nice. I love that. I love that. That's awesome. Does she sign too? And then the last thing I want to leave with you all is this. This is kind of an affirmation, something you can say to yourself daily as you're trying to navigate this, season or this feeling of betrayal. And even if the betrayal was a long time ago, I still would suggest you try to do these things because, again, more often than not, we have been really good at just tucking down and hiding betrayal, trauma, pain, all the things. But I'm telling you right now, something will come along, and it may be a test from the Lord in heaven above and on earth that tries to make you see your area so that you can be blessed and not be held in bondage to it anymore. So this is the affirmation I hope that you will want to share is I trust myself more each day. I am safe with me. Because again, like I said, what is betrayal attack? Your feeling of safety, which is why you don't want to have relationships, which is why you get closed off, which is why you don't trust yourself, right? But at the end of the day, I am safe with me, right? That's an important thing. And obviously you're safe in the Lord, which is the most important thing. But that's kind of how we work through those things. Oh, that's awesome that she signs. That's awesome. All right, y'all. It is 1:02. You stayed with me an extra 2 minutes that I stole from your day. I appreciate you fully and wholly. Please be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and extend to yourself and to me a measure of grace because your girl needs it. All right. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Have a blessed week, and I will see you next Saturday on Sipping Tea with Stacey T. Bye, everyone.